We've come to Lake Corpus Christi to take advantage of some thermal wind pushed from the Gulf across the state of Texas. I had an experience yesterday due to the volatility of the wind, high gusts switching direction. So this is one example of what went on last night. And this one's been here for quite a long time. That came down with about a 60-mile-an-hour gust. Because I was out on the water earlier than this. And yesterday I was looking forward to getting on the water and had an experience. As humans, we're pattern seeking. We like to, as we're seeing in the development of AI, we like to form connections between experiences or between observations, and that way we try to make sense of the world. Unfortunately, we tend to have an experience when we're young that we can't reconcile, and so we can go throughout life adding on layers and layers of interpretation or beliefs, and as an adult they can come back to haunt us in a sense. So I want to talk to you about peeling onions, about taking the emotional layers one by one off when you have an experience like I had yesterday. So let's consider what an onion looks like. It's got a core, then it has layers. And as a child, if you have an experience that is unreconciled, we go through other experiences in life trying to interpret this, trying to understand this. And so we add layers and layers. It's called cognitive bias, which is the result of it, but we add layers of experiences that we interpret to be similar. All right, so I'm suggesting that if you have an experience which this ignites your emotions, yesterday, me on the water, you have an experience of, I'm drowning, or I'm gonna drown, or I'm afraid. You can go through, giving yourself some time, a bunch of recollections, a bunch of reinterpretations, and get right to here's the root of it. And in some cases, you practice this over time, this will come out immediately. You'll see this in your mind, that core experience. And when you deal with reinterpreting this as an adult, this whole thing can be settled. The whole emotional baggage of that can change entirely, which removes the trigger, essentially. My windsurf board is prepped for foiling. In other words, I have taken the foot straps off. That's how you get yourself secured board to man. Okay? And then you wear a harness, and that hooks in to a loop on the control bar on the boom, which is connected to the mast. So when the wind blows, all that energy transfers down to the board and accelerates you. Well, since I don't use that, and I went out in pretty gusty conditions yesterday, I got launched. I got catapulted. There was a gust that hit me as I was going about 22 to 25 miles an hour over about 2 to 3 foot wind chop. So it was pretty violent. You know, it'd be equal to double black diamond moguls. And I'm skipping across the top of this and get overpowered, and I get catapulted. Well, that's an immediate slam dunk, but it's got a twisting motion to it. So the harness gets twisted around, tightened down like a knot on the hook, and you end up under the water, sail on top of you, water on the sail, board attached, keeping the whole thing secured, but you're holding your breath underwater. And there was a panic. and a reminder, a memory, a recollection of a childhood event. And so that's what I want to talk about. It's easy to trigger emotions. Our amygdala in here remembers these things, and so what it does is it tends to pull up from the back of our head all the adrenaline, all the fight or flight, all the rage and anger and all that, and it can mess with your whole day. So then even little tiny things like I'm trying to record last night and the no-see-ums are biting my ankles and the wind is gusting and the campfire smoke is coming through, and as I stand up to adjust the camera, the wind grabs my chair and my wine cooler and scatters that across the land, on and on and on. And all those things can really add up to be locked up inside. Most guys just suppress it. I want to teach you how to work with that so you don't wound your next of kin, your children, your friends, your peers, etc. Set up a wind shelter here so I can talk for a second. I was out just a few minutes ago. It's blowing 20, somewhere up in 24, 26 or so, and it's switching direction a lot here. This is that I had a memory come up here. When I was a kid, I had a chance to row an inflatable boat in Sandusky Bay, I think it was, where my grandfather or uncle had a cabin in the Great Lakes. And my parents, my dad specifically, stepdad, said, here, go do something, be busy. And anyway, put me in a 2 oars and an inflatable, looked like a life raft, you know, those round sort of things, and sent me out on some fairly calm water. Okay, there's see if you can hear any better there. So the point being that I ended up going out in this calm, and then the wind picked up like that, but it was offshore. See, I've been watching the weather direction knowing it's coming onshore. Now I've learned from that, but I remember terror, and the answer as I was being blown offshore was, you got yourself out there, you get yourself back. And that was one of those lessons that no one's coming to rescue your ass. It wasn't the very best childhood lesson because it's not always applicable, and yeah, if you cause your own pain sometimes, but you know, hard-assing on it isn't always the best way to teach people. So I've had to learn to self-rescue a about peeling layers of the onion, and this is being told in a bunch of chunks because I'm remembering other events even before the boat incident. You know, you got out there, you get back. Well, before that incident, I must have been, I would think between 3 and 4 years old. My mom had taken me outside of San Francisco in the Pacific Ocean, and I'd gotten in the water and the undertow had sucked me under, and apparently they figured out where I was and dragged me back out and resuscitated me or something. So I've had a number, even in the Navy I can think of one, a number of experiences with water and almost drowning. So those are all clustered together in my brain, all tied together. So you get slapped hard, find yourself upside down, tied in a knot under the water, and all of that chain reaction of emotion comes. I think the point of what I'm trying to get to is that having a safety plan so that when things break, as they always do, you have someone who'll pick you up if you have to land out in a glider, or if you're sailing here, someone knows where you are so you can get fetched. You know, when you're trying to do those things and you don't have men in your family, when you don't have a father figure or others that'll lead you, you can have all kinds of moments of being triggered and not know emotionally what's that come from. But like with an onion, you sort of peel it back, and with a group of guys around you, we can all help you kind of figure that out. What's the root of this? In my case, you got your butt out there, you get yourself back, was the wrong lesson for maybe a 10-year-old to be learning. I'd like to encourage you, rather than stuffing those emotional flares, take some time to consider them. Even if it takes 2 or 3 days or even weeks, your brain will unlock those. Our brain has plasticity. It can rewire itself even into the latest parts of our lives. We can reinterpret and put new meaning, new conclusions to former events. My stepdad saying to me, "You got your ass out there, you get your ass back. I'm not going to rescue you, you're on your own." Well, no, I've learned that that's not the case. That's not literally across all possible experiences. There are men. There are tools. There are self-awareness and maturity through self-understanding that can rewire those easy-to-say phrases that affect all portions of your life. In my case, you got your butt out there, you get yourself back, was the wrong lesson for maybe a 10-year-old to be learning. Still to this day, So I'm sure you've got some of those. Why don't you log in and share one of your good stories?